Here we go. 1, 2, 7. Dolphin, giraffe, porcupine.
At least you got the porcupine in there.
This is their song.
When the kids go to sleep, dreams and mad.
Sing it, Tay.
Here we go. Yeah.
When the kids go to sleep.
Oh, yeah.
That's an honor, really.
That is.
To have the voice of our generation sing our podcast.
Oh
theme
my
song.
goodness, but it's an honor to be here.
You are the voice of our generation.
Well, thank you so much.
Welcome today to our guest ZONDAY right here on the podcast at Maker Studios in Los Angeles, California. It's WTKGTS, the podcast
When the kids go to sleep.
you love to listen to while you're changing your baby's diapers.
And we love it when you love to listen to it.
Are you going to have kids one day, Tay, you think?
I mean, it is so... It's such an amazing... My sister has 4 girls.
Oh, wow.
7 years apart. So she kind of did the close together thing. And it changes your life
Absolutely,
so much.
yeah.
And, I think, after you have a child, I mean, your life is not yours
Right.
to some extent. I mean, every
That's
waking
the
moment
truth.
from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, someone is on your mind who is not you.
Yep.
And that's kind of for the rest of your life. A huge part of what you do. So I don't know, I could see that happening, but I feel like I have so much growth and so many places to go personally. Like, I mean, I'm 30, but I still feel like I'm just
You're
blooming.
30?
You're
Yeah.
30?
Dude, you could be 22 years old. You
Well, I
have the
guess
voice of an 80-year-old James Earl Jones. But have you ever met James Earl Jones?
I have not.
I feel like that needs to happen.
That would be
needs
an
to
honor.
happen.
Brett, get on the line, and I want James Earl Jones in here next Monday.
Shay, we actually have him on now. Can I patch him through?
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, there you go.
I don't have an impression, sorry.
I was like, what are you going to do now? All right, so let's do a little bit of get to know you with ZONDAY. If you don't know him, he is one of the biggest internet memes of all time. If you hate that, tell me about this. Chocolate Rain, we got to talk about it. 89 mil. What is it at now?
Almost 84
how many
million.
hundreds of millions of views?
It's
is that?
80 something.
Yeah.
84 million. I think Colette was watching
Almost
it this
84
morning.
million. I was like,
You should be
"What?"
mad at Colette. She'd never watched Chocolate Rain.
I'd
my
heard about it from
Since this
everybody else,
morning.
and I'd watched like
and I'm like, you've never seen
parodies.
Chocolate Rain?
I'm like, I just realized I
84
never really had.
million views later. Do you ever wish that you would have never uploaded that video, or is it something that's given you so many more opportunities that?
No, not at all. Because, I mean, I think you're right. I came in this perfect moment where I accidentally became this icon for the internet. And even people today who don't remember Chocolate Rain, they don't remember the name ZONDAY. I'll be in the checkout line at IKEA, and the cashier will say, I've heard your voice before.
Right.
It started on the internet, didn't it?
That's so
Yes,
funny.
my
someone-
voice was born on the internet.
Yeah. Or like someone like stare across the room at me at the DMV and be like,
I know.
you're that internet guy, aren't you? And so somehow it just came in this perfect moment,
Right.
where I think there was kind of looking this search for something to define the moment of YouTube. And there was other stuff going viral. This is summer of 2007. Chris Crocker went viral
Right.
with his Leave Britney Alone thing. About a month later, Soulja Boy was going viral at the time of the,
Soulja Boy,
the crank
man.
bang.
Yeah,
and that.
dude.
I was kind of the clean viral.
Right,
The
that's
approachable
true.
viral.
Right.
It's like, wait, I don't... I mean, I love Soulja Boy, but I mean, his thing is, hey, get the ringtone,
Crank.
get that crank raising.
Dude,
And-
I was a DJ for like high school dances, and those damn kids like play Soulja Boy, crank that. I'm like, we've heard it twice. They literally during a dance, a high school dance, they would have me play that thing like 3 or 4 times.
That's hilarious.
It's like,
I love it,
Soulja Boy.
Yeah, it's a pretty catchy song. I ain't gonna lie,
Yeah.
but I jammed to that song a few times. Okay, 84 million views, sure, but you've gone way past the internet. You've been on the People's Choice Awards, Jimmy Kimmel, Tosh Point oh, America's Got Talent. You were in the creme de la creme of commercials. I mean, we always hear about when the Super Bowl rolls around, like it's $8.3 million per half a second. And there's this old ZONDAY and a Dr. Pepper commercial during
I
that.
actually did a Vizio commercial during the
Oh,
Super
that's
Bowl
right,
2010.
right.
And the Dr. Pepper commercial was before that.
Well, let me get
But
my commercials straight.
But I love the Dr. Pepper thing. I mean, it all happened so quickly in this blur in 2007 where You know, July of 2007, I was a nerd in my living room, a bad graduate student and not really focused on my studies, making music as a hobby. And suddenly there's this video that's a national news story, and people are wanting me to sing at their bar mitzvahs, sing at their corporate parties, and this huge influx of people trying to contact me.
Right. And how do you choose? Like how? Well, A, which one of these people are serious? B, you know, which ones do I say yes to? Because I felt like that way as a YouTuber. Like, I know that there's so many amazing opportunities that I'm getting emailed, but it's hard to like to vet. You know, like which
there are no
one?
breadcrumbs.
You need a manager.
I mean, that's the thing was like in so many of these things, there are no breadcrumbs to follow where you can say, oh, who was the last person who was doing what I did?
Right.
And what did they do to advance their career?
Yep.
And I very much felt like that, which, like, I mean, literally the first radio interview I ever did was Opie and Anthony in New York.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, talking about like going from just like nothing to like, oh, yeah.
It's one of the biggest radio shows.
I'm on the radio. And so, you know, it was very much a trial by fire type of thing. The big choice I had to make is, did I want to sign with a label and drop out of school right then and pursue music full time? And I decided not to do that. I decided that, you know, the moment was great, but that I still had a lot of questions about who I wanted to be and where I wanted to go as an artist. So I kind of decided to stay in school a little bit longer, pursue YouTube, keep uploading stuff. And I was lucky because it was kind of the Energizer Bunny in terms of YouTube kept being relevant in 2008, 2009, 2010, and so on.
So here we are in 2012, and I want to get to that, but I think I want to ask this question. When did like the voice happen? Were you just... I always picture it to be funny if, like, when I met you in real life, it'd be like, "Hi, my name's ZONDAY," and then you just like had this voice you could go into for your song.
Hey, I'm Tay. That's my real voice. I'm just
So, like, when you hit puberty, did you just drop like 4 octaves, or like how did that happen?
No, I guess when I was about 17, it just got deeper
and deeper,
and
deeper.
Yeah. But yeah,
Can I touch your Adam's apple? I feel like this is like the strongest Adam's apple of all Adam's apples. If you're not careful, this Adam's apple, he could kick your butt. If you're not.
Oh no, but people post YouTube comments like that all the time.
Oh, really?
It's like the jokes about my voice are endless. Just like, you know.
But it's so smooth. I mean, it demands attention. I feel like it's just like boom, like whoa. Who's the 8-foot masculine dude who just walked into the room is going to kill you? Okay, so let's talk about today. So yeah, we know what happens that has happened in the last couple of years. YouTube. Do you feel like YouTube? I mean, it's definitely still relevant because even the Emmys, they talk about it. When Seth MacFarlane, you see him, he walked up and he was talking in the wrong mic or something. He's like, oh, that's going to get on YouTube. That is kind of like like that blooper is going to get on YouTube. But YouTube is really trying to make a big effort to change that persona. Yeah. Like, they were not the cute cats get kicked in the balls.
I think they want an audience that is like the CSI audience. It is like the American Idol type scale of content. And, I think, frankly, that's something very interesting about YouTube is you look at stuff that is hugely popular on YouTube, like Jenna Marbles, God bless her, wonderful person. Ray, wonderful, very talented. You look at it on a 48-inch TV screen in your living room, and you can see that, well, is it really more enjoyable to have that vlogging stuff that's very popular on YouTube on a huge screen? That's where you see, oh gosh, CSI, $5 million budget per episode, and probably 500 people working on it to paint in those corners and make it fill that 48-inch screen. There's kind of a different demand. So, I mean, I think it raises a lot of questions. Like, I enjoy Jenna or Ray just on my cell phone, just on a small screen. And so I think YouTube is kind of in this odd politics where advertisers are wanting to see that CSI, that paint in the corners, that Lord of the Rings type high quality stuff. And they're willing to pay more for ads to run ads against that. And when you're with a brand and you're running something, an ad against something that looks like CSI, then you can defend that investment more than, hey, I'm running this against a vlogger. I'm running this against someone who, like ZONDAY, who's just singing in front of a microphone and a bedsheet. I'm running this against someone who looks like they make home movies. And so YouTube is kind of in this interesting politics where it's like vloggers and people who make simple content like myself can be popular on YouTube, but is that what's going to make the most headway in terms of advertising and getting that huge audience.
Right. So there's this big shift that's happening, I feel like, right now. And YouTube is trying to get those advertisers to be willing to spend, if we want to call it CSI ad dollars on things like, Ray William Johnson and all this other stuff. Here's what I've always said. As soon as advertisers realize that the size of the screen doesn't matter, the eyeballs are all the same size. You know what I mean? You get... Ray William Johnson's getting 4 to 5 million views per episode, and they're shooting in this. He has like a, freaking plywood background with like old comic book stuff, and he's getting as many views as these multi-million-dollar shows with 500 people crew. That's what needs to happen, and I think it will eventually once the advertisers realize that, like, hey, this is actually more valuable because these viewers are hands-on. They can click on your product. They can touch it. If you're watching something on TV, you don't watch it. You either fast forward, you DVR through the ads,
or you're eating something.
You're eating something.
You're not as engaged with the content.
Yeah, if you are interested in a product that you see, it's like you got to go get a pen, write down a number, remember a website.
Right.
And how likely are you to do that when you could just be like, oh yeah, I want to see that. Touch. You know what I mean? And that, I feel like that transition is happening, and it will happen where, TV ad dollars are up here and YouTube are down here, and I feel like it's going to eventually go like this, and then it's going to continue. Yeah. Because once advertisers realize that this is way more valuable because it's hands-on and people are way more likely to get their product because they can go directly to it, that'll happen. And so, YouTube is in this space where they're like trying to encourage more quality professional content. Where there's something about just having, somebody holding the camera and saying, this is just me in my life.
And I think really the question with LA, because we are in this city that since the 1930s has been built up with writers unions and actors unions, and all these, all those 500 or 1,000 people who work on each CSI episode are in their own industry trade groups and have their agencies and have all these politics. And so, you have someone like Jenna who's using the webcam on a MacBook, right? And getting 5 million views of video. Yeah. What does that? I think the question larger to LA is like, what do all these people in the industry do now? Right. What is all that investment? I think that's kind of what some of that slowdown and that's what some of that pushback is against YouTubers, is that there is really an established process with movies, with TV, to have all these hands in the content. Right. And everyone.
And YouTubers don't want that. YouTubers love their ownership, and that's the great thing about YouTube is that you can go and you can make whatever video you want. You have your own publishing. You can create whatever you want, and nobody can tell you. But that's the difference with Hollywood, is that there's a lot of people who want to have a job. And
absolutely.
And the more that you get into that, it's like, well, you have to, verify this through this person and through this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no.
We've all been there.
Right. And it's frustrating as YouTubers. And that's where, I think, the heads are butting, is where YouTubers want to just create content they want. And then Hollywood's like, no, well, you got to make sure you okay that and stuff. So
well, I mean, the entire infrastructure of Hollywood is built to basically whittle down human beings. Like, one person has an one person has an artistic vision, the writer or the casting director, and so the audition process whittle down human beings. Agencies whittle down human beings. Find the right talent for a particular artistic vision, and YouTube is all about the opposite. It's like, well, why doesn't everybody just put stuff up there, and we'll kind of see through some democratic process what gets popular and what blows up. And so I think that's kind of why there's this transition now where YouTubers have really, there's been this diaspora, this migration to LA by YouTubers, but it's really to build our own companies, build our own infrastructure, accumulate our own venture capital, and try and kind of build our own space in this city alongside the other stuff that's already there. And it's interesting.
I've always said, because people have, the natural question is, okay, cool, like, you're popular on YouTube now, so how long till you're on TV? And that's been the question that we've gotten a lot. And I would be on TV. I would love to be on a TV show or in a movie, but I'm not going to do it at the cost of, cutting the legs out from what I've already created. Right. Because I feel like we are part of this new entertainment platform that I feel proud to be part of building that. You know what I mean? And I don't think any YouTuber has ever said, you know, and there's some actually, I don't want to say any YouTuber that they want to get popular on YouTube so they can get into more mainstream media. But at this point, YouTube and this type of entertainment industry feels like legitimate enough where I would rather be a founder in creating this new platform of content than just to use it as a diving board to get into a TV show. Or
I also feel that like what you do in particular is more authentic than a lot of what you see in, say, I mean, reality TV, Basketball Wives, Real Housewives, and whatnot. All that, you know, whether the public knows it or not, is scripted.
Right.
You know, what happens in those shows, you know, Kim Kardashian, whatnot, that it's supposedly the reality of their lives. It's like, well, no, it's not. There's actually a team of writers. There's actually a whole infrastructure there to contrive those situations and try and insert drama and, you know, insert content that would not otherwise be there in quote unquote reality TV. And so people like you, people like Charles Trippi, you know, it's more authentic. It's just, you know, hey, I'm an interesting person with an interesting life, and there doesn't need to be this team of writers, this team of people contriving content.
I think people would be really surprised at how much of that stuff is canned. Like, I just recently talked to somebody, I can't say who, Dog the Bounty Hunter, that guy who goes around and like arresting people. A lot of that stuff is staged. Where it's, you think like, oh, he's just really going catching these bad guys. A lot of those people are actors that are like, oh, we're trying to catch him. We're at this house. You know, they have their 18 mace guns on them and everything. You know, like they're strapped to the 9 with like pepper sprays. And a lot of that stuff is not reality, where they think, oh, it's reality TV. And I think you're right. I think we are awesome. I think that's what you're trying to say. Yeah,
we're basically amazing.
One thing that I thought was so cool is you've been on an episode of South Park. Like that is like
I was parodied on an episode of South Park.
That's so funny.
Yeah, did they have? Is that legal? Like, can you sue them? Can we get some money somehow?
No, I mean it was a parody, and they didn't exactly ask me to do it, but it was an honor that they did it. I mean, I looked fatter. I was about 300 pounds and very violent, but you know that's South Park's thing. So they did the South Park thing very well. So
So what do you think about the TV YouTube transition? Like, do you because you've been in both worlds?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have just personally always been pretty straight edge, very much someone who looks for rules to follow, and there haven't always been rules to follow in the YouTube space. Especially when it comes to, I mean, there are people, big YouTubers who like make videos in malls, do a music video in like IKEA, or you know, monetize a video in the Apple Store, and it gets millions of views. And it's like, if you're thinking of that, because I've double dipped enough and been in enough television projects where it's like, gosh, if CBS wants to shoot something in, say, IKEA or the Apple Store, you know, there's the clearance department that has 500 people working in it, and the attorneys, you know, contacting the property owners and the brands. And you know, when I did the Super Bowl commercial for Vizio, there was a question of who is the manufacturer of my glasses.
All those little details.
And it's like, so we need to contact the manufacturer of my glasses, make sure it's cleared and they have signed a release so that it can be in the commercial. And I'm in the commercial for like 4 seconds. And you can barely, I'm like zooming by, and you can barely, but that's just the detail that goes to the TV.
That's what I call it.
And, you know, a lot of YouTubers are just kind of like, hey, I'll just go shoot. And I would say a lot of the YouTubers who have found success have been people who are willing to take risks and just kind of do what they love. And sometimes you kind of have to wait for the law or clarity to catch up with that.
Do you think that'll be an issue? Like, do you think, you know, iJustine could be sued for dancing in Apple stores?
Well, and actually lots of people have done that.
That's what I like, just in this YouTube generation. Well, like, for instance, this just recently came up, like, you know, people that are just in public that are in videos that you see, like, you know, maybe like, you know, somebody filming a fight at their school or whatever, and, you know, there's just people in the public that get recorded and get put on YouTube and get millions of views. Is there going to be a legitimate, like, you know, court cases that come down the pipe later saying, well, hey, I didn't want to be on your YouTube video? But I feel like that's happened so much now.
It seems like it's so standard now. And that's a question. I think that's a question of like, what is the law? What is the clarity there? And, you know, to what extent do you need to get clearances from people if like someone is like way in the back corner and you're shooting something like, you know, on the beach? Well,
I feel like with our society, the way that it's, you know, and we're going to transition into the iPhone 5, but everybody is filming themselves. Everybody is taking Instagram pictures.
Absolutely.
Everybody is like, hey, I'm here at this restaurant. And it's just like cameras are everywhere. And it's like you can't get away from it. Like if you're out in public,
you just kind of assume that what you're doing may be recorded.
Yeah.
And
it seems like you can't really be hidden anymore. Like your life, especially just with Facebook and how much people are sharing about their lives, you can't be a hidden person anymore. Like
I think it's a generational thing though too, because I know my parents who were in their mid to late 60s. You know, just kind of, I think there's a generational discomfort where, you know, younger generations, especially kids who are born now, and perhaps people, you know, 30 and up to maybe 40 or so, are kind of used to and adapting to this idea of, oh, my face could be anywhere at any time.
Right.
And that's just kind of what the world is. And I still think there's kind of an older generation that, you know, older people aren't as comfortable with this idea. I mean, it's like my mom still doesn't want to have her face on Facebook. You know, it's like, what, put my face on the internet? You know, and it's really kind of an age-oriented thing too.
Well, you remember when people were so afraid of buying things on the internet, and now that seems like, well, duh, of course you can buy stuff on the internet. But I remember even just, you know, 5 years ago, it's like, oh, do you trust that?
Yeah.
Like, what if they don't send you the thing that you buy? Like, but now it's like nobody thinks about that. Everybody buys stuff. So, are you gonna get an iPhone 5? Do you have an iPhone?
I have a Galaxy S3.
Oh, snap!
Snap!
What do you feel about Apple? Are you not into the? Because it's like it feels to me like
I have plenty of Apple products, just not into their phones. But I have an iPad and an iPod and.
So let me
what
bring
other
this
things
up.
start with I?
Recently, you were talking about Apple just announced that they had sold something like 200 million iPads, and they're the most profitable company in history or something. Why didn't I buy stock? Is it worth going into debt for these gadgets that everybody has to have?
That's really kind of what I. It's one thing I ask. I mean, part of it is that as YouTubers with YouTube audiences, you know, we are more or less by extension of that in the retail business too, with T-shirts or trying to. Usually, we're trying to get people to buy something in relation to our videos.
Oh, I have new tank tops, by the way. Rodeo Arcade, right below. Do you have anything you want to sell real quick, Tay? Do you have any shirts?
Oh gosh, I'm bad. I mean, tayshirt.com, but.
Check it out. Do you have your own website, Tay Shirt? Because like YouTubers usually go through somebody.
It's actually Spreadshirt. It redirects to now. But
anyways, sorry. Links below to buy all of our crap.
But I mean, the question of like Apple and debt, and you know, are people really going into debt, or are people buying and creating economic growth now with income, or are they kind of creating it with debt?
Right.
And I think, and I know that's something. I mean, you've posted a lot of videos about just your experiences with finances and whatnot, and you know, I think that's a real question. Are these electronic gadgets things that people can afford? I think Apple, it's almost kind of like it's interesting how it kind of got under people's skin and almost became a sort of, I hate to use the word, but deity, a sort of ethos, a sort of spiritual, just kind of like.
It feels like that way, where people will wait in line.
It feels like a religious thing.
Yeah.
It feels like a religious thing to own an Apple device and just kind of have that whole. The
white
Prestige
earbuds.
or something.
I know what you mean. Like it's
hard enchanting.
Yeah. It's definitely. I remember there was some commercial. I don't know if it was for a Zune or what, but in the commercial it showed all these people with like hoodies on and like the white earbuds walking around in subways like zombies, kind of like. And all of a sudden there was this one person who had one that was like colorful. You know what I mean? And it was like all these zombie people with their iPhones and their iPads and their white earbuds, and it was like, dude, yes, we will wait in line for 3 days to buy your new product, Steve Jobs. We love you. We will buy anything. We will pay $400. That's what pisses me off. It's like I probably will get the iPhone 5. I still have not updated to iOS 6 because even her sister this morning updated. She's like, I lost all my contacts. I'm like, and then this morning my phone like suggested to me update to iOS 6. I'm like, no way. My phone is working just fine right now. I'm just gonna keep it how it is. Thanks for the laugh, Brett. Somebody suggested that they actually have the ability to slow your device down once they
What?
update a new software.
Oh.
Like they can if you haven't updated, like all of a sudden your phone works slower, so it's like, oh, I got to update. I get a new iPhone. Which I don't know. I'm not like conspiracy theory in here, but
I don't know.
if you can't afford it, don't buy
it.
Don't ask yourself, well, I can pay that much a month. If you can't pay cash for something, don't buy it. Because
absolutely.
one, I mean, it's like, oh, man, how do I get this across to you? You will be enslaved. Like the debtor is slave to the lender, and you will bury yourself in.
You always pay more than you originally would have.
And what Teo said was right. Is in more so than selling the actual products, is they're selling money. They're selling financing, because the way our society is it's like, get it now, don't wait. If you can afford $20 a month, you can have the newest, greatest, latest technology. Ha ha! But you ended up paying like 4 times the amount if you just paid cash for the stupid thing. And so by the time you pay it off, you've bought 4 of them over the last 4 years of you shelling out that $20 a month.
And by the time you paid it off, you've already dropped it in your sink and had to get a new one.
But I mean, I think that's a question. I mean, and I actually wrote a song about this, Mama Economy. But what is economic growth and prosperity now? Because there was this sense, I think, like in the 1960s, that you saw something on the shelf, you bought that thing,
or you
paid cash for it,
or you saw it and you thought, I'm going to save
up for that
until I have
and then
that.
You pay for all of it with cash.
And then it feels good. You did it. You have the thing. It's yours.
And then when the companies report earnings, it's like they're reporting earnings of people who paid cash for those earnings, and not like people who got in debt to acquire the product. And so it's just a very interesting dynamic.
So I would like to hear, we're running out of time here, but I would really like to hear your thoughts on the national debt. We just hit $16 trillion. What do you think that's going to do to our society? Do you think that's something like, well, the economy just sucks and we'll just deal with it? Or do you think we're getting to a point where it's a very serious topic that could really hurt, generations of people coming right after us?
I think there's a lot of, first of all, the national debt, in some arguments, there are some people who will argue that the national debt is somewhat contrived because it's basically money that we owe to private bankers. We borrowed money from the Federal Reserve, and part of that is because the federal government can't really print its own money and hasn't been able to do that since, I think, 1912, 1913. And so there's some debate over, well, is this really real, or has the situation kind of been created to put the government in this pickle? But definitely, I think balanced budgets are good. It's good to not live on a credit card, and that's pretty much what every politician of every party who has run for political office has said for the past 20 years. And I think the frustration on the ground level of the citizenry is like, okay, we've heard this in elections year after year after, as far as back I can remember. I can remember the 88 election, the 92 election. Everyone's talking about, okay, let's bring down the national debt, let's balance the budget, and it doesn't seem to happen.
It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
It seems like this runaway thing. And so I think everyday people are kind of in this mode of like, well, if this is bad and if it's something to be avoided, then why can't it be avoided? Why doesn't there seem to be action?
I feel like here's what I would do. And, I know everything. So I'm about to solve a lot of problems right now.
For president.
I mean, come on.
There we go.
Because all the presidential candidates are like, we're going to cut taxes, we're going to raise taxes, or, we're going to cut spending. I feel like, if I'm the father of a family, which I feel like the president is kind of in a sense, if we think of our nation as a family, we're in debt, you know what I mean? And we need to get out of debt. So I would like a presidential candidate to come along and say, guess what, everybody? We're going to raise taxes a little bit, and we're going to cut spending a little bit. And it's going to be the same for everybody. Rich, poor, old, young, it doesn't matter. Everybody is going to get an incremental this much tax raise, and we're going to cut programs. It doesn't matter which program it is. Every single program is getting cut 2.73%. There's no discrepancy between what program it is. And it's like we make a little bit more and we spend a little bit less. And that's how you get out of debt. And there's no like, well, which programs, and we're going to cut taxes for these people and not these people. That's bull crap. Like, I disagree with Mitt Romney cutting taxes for the rich. Like, I think if we want to get out of debt and we think this is a serious enough problem, everybody has to pay a little bit more and everybody has to spend a little bit less. And we have to get into it like a family would. Like, listen, boys and girls, listen, kids, we're on a budget. It's rice and beans and beans and rice, like my buddy Dave Ramsey says, where it's like, you got to live like nobody else now so that you can live like nobody else later. And that means sacrifices. That means making some cuts that might be difficult, but are necessary for the future of our family as a nation.
Right.
And I want some presidential candidate to come in and do that and not just say, like, you know, because it's good for their voting base, we're going to cut taxes for the rich and then, okay, I'm going to vote for that guy. You know what I mean? We need somebody to be honest and really do this shit. Come on!
Oh, there we go with the sound effects. The sound
Sorry,
and the waterworks.
Rob, I just got fired.
Thumbnail.
That was cool, like exploded. Alrighty, well, thanks to ZONDAY for being on today's podcast. He's an intellectual genius. I like following you on Twitter because you always bring up really interesting
And
things.
he has an amazing voice.
So check him out. We'll have all of the links to his YouTube channel, his Twitter, his t-shirt, everything you can find from ZONDAY, links below. Thanks for joining us on
See
the
you next
podcast.
time.